the other green.
Right.
You can just go straight to them.
Right.
You can't do that for the overhead. Click it on. Click it again to select it. Because otherwise, if you click it, even though you're clicking, it's not changing. But even if I do that, see, it stays in the house. Down.
Yeah, that'll be the majority. It's just us, we're not going to Thanks. I think you've heard too. I'll walk that. Is there anything else in this year? All right, I appreciate it. Yeah, I just want to make sure. All right, but so otherwise we're good to go. Everything started, you know. Stop on. Where is it? Where is it?
Should be back on.
Good evening, and we apologize for the technical delays. We come to you now in the Spiel d'Italia matchup here between Team Dobbs and Team Single Barrel. Jared, catch us up to speed on what we've missed so far.
Not a lot, Kevin. We're professionals, as you can tell. Each team has thrown 4 stones here. We're at the Vices, the thirds, are going to be throwing their stones now. Team Single Barrel is currently sitting 2. They're throwing yellow. Team Dobbs is throwing red.
Jared, you have a little familiarity with Team Dobbs. Tell us a little bit about what you expect to see here.
Team Dobbs is a solid team. I've curled with most of them before, against them in various leagues. I've played against them in the Dykes last year. They're a solid team. You should expect a good game out of them. They've curled together, at least most of them, before, and they should know each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Here's the shot. See the approach. Looks like he's going to clip red here.
And that was a guard there. I think they were trying to block Team Dobbs' promote there with that red guard up front. And it looks like they did a good job getting in front.
Do you see any difference, Jared, in the strategy in a bond spiel here where you may have less familiarity with your opponent in terms of how you're going to call your shots, especially early on?
Yeah, you know, one thing I find fascinating, the first end a lot of times can be a real danger trap. don't know the ice, even though these everyone's been curling here yesterday and today, every time you do the ice, it changes around a little bit. And especially for those unfamiliar with the Potomac ice, the first end can be dangerous, and you want to make sure you put yourself in a position to not give up a lot of points.
And here's a shot here from Red.
So Michael Sell here is looking to promote his Red up.
And how does it look so far?
When you hear him saying plan B, you know not great.
And here it comes. And it's going to nick the other Red and come through the house.
You can see there's a little bit of a port there. They're trying to promote the Red on the left. The second option is ideally to sneak through that port and hit the yellow. They couldn't quite do it.
How important is the flexibility mid-shot for a skip to be able to come in and adjust on the fly?
Oh, it's so vital. I mean, no one's going to throw a perfect shot every time. And so as a skip, you have to have at least 2, maybe 3 or 4 planes. So no matter what the stone's doing, if your throw misses by a few inches either way, if the weight's off, you can try to adapt and come up with something else that may not work as well as planned, but sometimes it's even better.
And that's really just an experience factor there. I mean, that's something that comes over time, I would expect.
Definitely, no question. Just seeing so many shots over and again, putting yourself in so many positions, try to predict what's going to happen with each throw.
And here it comes, sweeping hard.
And Single Barrel has their one stone buried deep there in it, behind the button. There's 3 or 4 stones it's behind now. They're just trying to guard it up. They like their stone there and think they might be able to get a point or 2 out of the end.
So then what do you do here if you're Team Dobbs to combat that?
I mean, you're really in a tough spot. I think you got to try to clear out some of the debris. And this is their 6th shot. They'll have 2 more after it. I think you can clear up some debris.
And we'll see if that's able to happen here. Coming in a little bit slowly. It's going to sail right past the first yellow and the second. That'll come well close to the button.
And this is why Dobbs gets paid the big bucks that I'm sitting at here. That was a great shot to try to draw in right there. It's riskier. There's not a big margin of error, but you can see there was a little bit of port there. They did a good job pulling it through.
That's a good swing of the pendulum there for them, and again why they're out there and we're in here. So now coming back to the other side, what do you see as a reaction shot here?
Honestly, you may just want to plug up that port and make sure nothing else gets through. I don't think you're going to be able to. I think it's going to be difficult to knock out the Red that just came in there.
It's not a huge hole, but certainly still some possibility.
Keep in mind, though, Single Barrel is still sitting on their shot. And with Dobbs having the hammer, if Single Barrel can plug up the port and steal one, they would take that, no question.
Sure. And here's the shot. It's coming down the right side. Can't quite tell if it'll make it there. And it looks like it'll just come up, hit the first Red.
And I think that with that roll, it gets them about where they wanted. There's not much of a hole on that side anymore.
Does that set them up well, you think, for their last stone?
I think so, yeah. It's going to be tough for Dobbs to figure out a way to either knock his one in their back or get rid of the yellow.
So then if you're Dobbs here, what kind of shot are you calling?
I think they're arguing about it now. I don't know, there's some trick shots trying to nick the one off the edge in at an angle. I think it might be there. It's a tough shot to hit.
It's certainly a tough shot, and I think that's one thing that you see often in curling is there's very often a shot that's somewhat of a pipe dream, and it often comes down to the leadership style of the skip and how risk averse they tend to be, and whether or not you really want to go for that, or especially early on play it more conservatively.
Yeah, sometimes that's your only shot, though. The upshot here for Team Dobbs is that it's going to be difficult for them to give up more than one. With they're sitting second there, and it's buried behind 5 or 6 stones at this point, maybe 4 or 5 stones. So I don't think Single Barrel is going to try to knock that one out, so it's going to be tough for them to give up more than one at worst.
Well,
so they can try something a little riskier, I think.
Sure, and we'll see shortly here what they've decided to go for, and see how that affects their going early on. Looks like there's still a little bit of late argument discussing the shot.
I don't know if I'd say argument, just adjusting where to put the broom. A lot of times, especially in this first end, the skip has had the privilege, he's had the ability, the vantage point to see how the stone's been curling. And so he can make some adjust to his vice and where he wants his vice. Michael Selda's set up.
And here's the shot coming down. Do you like the approach, Jared?
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll see here. It'll clip the outside stone.
I think it was a good try. You know, it didn't quite work out this time, but it might have been the right call. Dobbs has another stone to play with after that one. Cleared up the right side a little. I think it was worth a shot at some point. He was going to have to figure out a way to get one in.
Sure. And we'll see here with the final stone there for them, what they're going to call for. Some discussion on the far end. And Jared, how important is it early on to either grab a lead or get a little bit of momentum early on in a match?
Oh, momentum is so important, Gavin. Momentum is so important. You need to grab it as soon as you can and hold on to it for dear life.
Well, and the risk is giving up too much to your opponent and lacking the wherewithal to come back from that, from an emotional standpoint.
Oh, yeah. These guys have been curling. Team Dobbs just came off the ice for the draw before this. They're going to be tired. They need something to rally behind.
We'll see the shot here. Looking good so far. Some hard sweeping now, the final third.
I think that might have overcurled a little bit. I think they were hoping to plug up the left side a little bit more, just block it up. But again, didn't hurt the cause.
No, ultimately not much of a positive or a negative, I guess you could say, with one stone left to go here in the first end. So what do you think the discussion is about here for this final stone?
I think there's no obvious shot. I think if you're Dobbs, you almost want to just throw anything. It's going to be hard to hurt yourself and save your time for later in the match.
We'll see if they ultimately come to that same decision. Looks like they're just about ready.
They may try to draw in from the left side, what Schultz was trying to plug up with his prior shot.
Is there any risk there or any chance for harm?
I say no. I mean, it's really hard to do any more damage. I don't know. This draw is going to be pretty difficult because it's got to be almost touching the button at this point to outcount Schultz's stone.
Sure, as we get a look at the button here, one stone left to go in the first end. And here's the approach. And it looks like they'll try and draw in from the left side here. Not quite sure if it's got it. Sweep it hard.
It was a great try. So it's going to come up short ultimately a little bit, but I think it was a great try. Solid on both sides that time. Schultz did a great job bearing their stone and keeping it well guarded to steal a point that end.
So Jared, as we see a single point there that end, what do you see so far in both of these teams, and what do you expect to see, if any, changes moving forward?
I mean, it's so tough to tell after just one end. I think all teams seem to be throwing fairly well so far. No one was heavy that we saw. Their touches were good. I think they're still trying to figure out this draws ice a little bit, the curl and what weight's necessary.
So talk a little bit more about the ice. You have some familiarity here with the ice at the Gardens Iceplex, and traditionally, I think very very strong. But what's your opinion?
Well, full credit to Ken Ray and the ice making staff here. They do a tremendous job. It takes so much work that if you don't know what's behind it, it's kind of stunning. It's staggering how much work it takes to get this ice thrown great, and I think they do a great job. The ice, traditionally, the first ends are a little slower. It'll speed up and then it'll slow back down. I think we're seeing some good swing here so far in this Spiel. They do overtime, just getting all the ice together for these Spiels, and they're almost always super great ice.
And certainly appreciate it as we see the first shot here of the second end.
And that's a great center guard right there.
And is that traditionally your preferred approach to start off and end all things equal?
I think it's everyone's preferred approach, Gavin. When you don't have the hammer, you're trying to block up the middle. You want a center guard. You don't want it in the house, generally speaking. And I think that's a great guard.
Certainly one of the earlier shots that curlers tend to learn. And here we see the rebuttal.
Okay. Oh, it's hanging. Yes. At the end. Back to center. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, yeah.
Really wide. Watch it go.
As we see it coming towards the house. And how do you like that shot just here at the tip of the blue?
That's okay. I think that shot they're either trying to draw behind, and so it's hidden behind the yellow guard, or they're going for a corner guard. That sort of ended up in between.
And what's the risk there with it being so exposed?
What you're going to see here now is Team Schultz, lead Brunster, is going to just hit that. Is what Schultz is calling for. As you remember, Gav, the first 2 stones on either team throws are guards. They're free guards. They can't be knocked out into those first 4 stones so long as they're in front of the house. Since this one went into the house, Team Schultz can knock it out.
That's a good reminder here as we look at the second shot here for Team Schultz.
That's a nice hit to knock it right out of play. It did leave his stone exposed, and you're going to see Dobbs call a similar sort of hit and roll. The goal here is going to be to hit the yellow stone that just rolled into the house and hide behind the guard that's sitting on the center line.
What kind of difficulty are we looking at on this shot?
It's a tough shot. I mean, the hit itself is not difficult, but getting the roll where you want it to, that's more challenging.
And we'll see what kind of roll they're able to get here. It's coming a little bit wide, not going to get a ton of that, and won't get any of it.
And Jared flashed that just a bit wide. Sometimes when the stone's all by itself, like there's not a lot of stones on the ice, it can be, you can almost get inside your head a little bit when you're trying to make that hit. It looks so wide open, you think, how can I miss, and you end up missing.
And we know curling is as much a mental game as a physical one, and I think that's a little bit of what we saw here. So what kind of shot here are you going to expect from single barrel?
He could be looking to draw behind the center guard. He could be looking to split the house a little bit, I think. Hard to tell with the setup.
Shift this.
We'll see just what single barrel's up to here.
Mine's good. It's not the extra push I gave. It doesn't look heavy. Wait.
Crossing the hog line.
Yeah.
And that'll come very close to that first guard, just behind now.
And that's a great shot, I think. Maybe a touch deeper than he wanted, but you didn't want anything too deep. You don't want to let Dobbs rest up against it. You split the house a little bit.
And this could be setting up as a potentially dangerous end. So what kind of shot do you think we can expect from Team Dobbs? How do you go about combating that early on?
Well, Dobbs needs to knock something out. Ideally, he's going for the double takeout, but he's going to try to hit that one on our left. Hopefully roll and hit the one on the right as well.
And we'll see if they're able to achieve that takeout. It's coming down pretty heavily. And it looks like they'll just get the one.
They got one. You hear him say it's hanging. The stone's not curling as much as
The rock was listening.
But still able to knock one stone out, so not a complete waste of time.
No, a solid shot. Still left one in play.
So now, Jared, are you just going to try and put another sort of one at the top of the house here if you're single barrel, or what's the retort here now that they've gotten one of their 3 knocked out?
For Schultz, Team Single Barrel, I would knock out they'll do a take it on the redstone that just ended up there. I think that's what they're hoping to do here. Looking a little light.
Doesn't quite have the weight to knock it completely out, but
that's going to end up a great shot for them, though. They're now sitting 2. The one that just came in is well guarded. It's deep, but it's straight on that center line. It's going to be hard for Dobbs to do anything about it immediately.
It's quite a hole to dig out of now with so much there and you know, no way of really getting everything at once. What kind of approach would you take here to try and sort of stop the damage?
I tend to be more conservative, have a more conservative skip style, hit the other stones if possible. It also depends a lot on your curlers and how they're curling today. Dobbs is called a draw here. He wants to draw as close to the button as possible.
We'll see how much draw he has in it. They're sweeping hard, expecting it a little lighter than called for. We'll see if it quite has the distance.
That's going to be a little lighter than he wanted, but it's still going to set him up for a future shot. I think you can promote that and knock it in.
So potentially safer to have it on the lighter side rather than throwing it with a heavier weight and risk it going too far and not being able to promote later on.
Yeah, I mean, that said, he had some backing for the heavy draw if it came in too heavy. But they definitely need stones to tick around at this point.
And they at least have that with 2 on the periphery here, but it'll be vital here with the last few stones to be able to really make a move and prevent a big end here for single barrel. Looks like they've agreed on their approach here. We'll see what they've come up with.
I want to say hello to all the 17 people watching us now on the live stream.
Hopefully up to 18 or 19 by the end, but we'll see if we can at least keep steady at 17.
Well, Gavin, I got to wonder, don't these people have anything to do with their time? It's a Saturday night. Go out, have some fun.
Well, we don't, so I guess we appreciate that they don't either. But
oh, this is the highlight of my month, Gavin.
We've certainly gotten a good match starting, and we'll see if that continues as we see the shot from single barrel here. Calling for sweeping early, perhaps a little lighter than expected. Hot and heavy coming down, a lot of sweeping.
They did a great job sweeping, getting it over that hog line. They were just trying to block up that promote from the reds on the left side.
And a little bit of risk potentially if it wouldn't cross the hog line, but ultimately a great job getting a blocker pretty far up there and making sure they had hard sweeping coming in to get it just across the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was maybe a little higher than they wanted. Skip never wants to have to come out and help sweep. But the advantage of a high guard like that is that it's so much harder to get around.
Sure.
Control. Yeah.
This is where we were.
We'll see what Dobbs has here to potentially try and change the game a little bit. Hasn't quite been the end I think they've been hoping for so far, but still plenty of time to salvage something out of this.
He's called for a hit, a control, take out weight. Wants to just clear up the center as much as possible.
Whoa.
Open it up for some future shots.
Yeah. Off.
It looks like they'll probably be able to get something. And it looks like they'll knock that second from the back stone out of the house. How do you evaluate that shot, Jared?
I think it was a little more off center than he wanted. The stone curled off. It's still in play, but it's not at the end. That said, now they're sitting second, third, and fourth. It's not a terrible spot to be in, and they've opened up the middle a little bit.
No, and I think for Dobbs, we've seen them be able to come back here and at least get some stones nearby and at least put a little bit more pressure on and you know, get some closer in, as you said, second, third, and fourth. And so certainly a little bit of a rebound here with the last few shots. Here's team single barrel. A little bit of sweeping, heavier now. it comes in towards the house. Looks like it'll just nick that first blocker. And we'll sit with both of them just outside the blue.
I think they left the center a little more exposed than they were hoping with that shot.
Yeah. We don't do it now. Control.
And so with that, perhaps expect to see Team Dobbs approach towards the middle. What would you expect from Team Dobbs here, knowing what you know and seeing what you've seen so far this end?
I think they're going to try to come through the open port in the middle, hit the yellow in the back.
Certainly the risk the single barrel has taken leaving the center so open. But a lot of hard sweeping early on. Not enough weight potentially here. We'll see if the sweeping will get it where they want it.
All the way! All the way!
And they've got it, at least somewhat of a success there, knocking the closest stone away. What are your thoughts, Jared?
They did a great job sweeping to keep it on the line. They came off a little inside on that throw. You know, they might have wanted to stick around, but on the other hand, this doesn't give single barrel much to play with in the back there. Dobbs is sitting, has 3 stones in the house at this point, and there's middle still open to draw something through. Promote's still there for single barrel as well.
We'll see if they choose to promote here or if they'll go with a different strategy, but certainly a pretty wide open end at this point, I think. And it looks like single barrel is ready. Sweeping hard, trying to get it just towards the middle here, in between the 2 yellow already there. And it looks like it'll curl a little bit and sit partially behind that blocker there on the left side. Jared, your reactions?
That's a nice throw. I think that's exactly what you're trying to do, drawn behind Sebastian. I think they didn't get it quite covered enough, but they're currently sitting shot. We'll see if Dobbs can get rid of it.
Still a pretty open front there, but as we said, certainly no such thing as a gimme here, so we'll see if they're able to go ahead and take that one away. Some final discussions, and I think they're just about ready here. See what Team Dobbs has for us here. Back in the shot. Now sweeping hard. We'll see where it lands. Wow, and that'll come right in, just barely squeaking by that first blocker and knocking the shot on the button there.
That's a nice shot. You can see the Dobbs' stone kind of took off there a little bit at the end. They were worried it was going to curl a little too much, but he got it out. The stone's still exposed though, and you're going to see Schultz try to just knock it out again. With Dobbs having hammer, the key here for Schultz is to knock out the red that just went in. Belief is stone behind cover and setting shot. If any of the things don't happen, that leaves the end wide open for Dobbs to score big.
And that's absolutely a risk here, and we'll see if they can actually come in and do a similar shot here and achieve that knockout. And here's the shot. So far, pretty online. And it'll go ahead and a pretty good shot doing similarly to what we saw in the last shot from Dobbs, going ahead and knocking that out, but still a little bit exposed.
Yeah, good job nosing it out, but since they hit it on the nose, there's still a shot there for Dobbs to score big.
So with that in mind, you see a little bit of discussions here. What do you think they're going through here?
Well, I mean, the key here is to take out the stone that just came in. They want this stone to stick around as well, so ideally they'd be nosing the stone. They just want to make sure they clear all the guards. There is a wide pour for them to get through, but they just want to make sure they call the shot to give them as great a shot as possible to score for this end.
And that would certainly be quite a bounty for them, and it just highlights how quickly these ends can change. But we'll see, if the execution can match the theory here. And here's the approach. It's just to our right of the center line, crossing now. It looks like it's going to get there, and it'll stick. Hell of a shot, Jared.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you wanted. They had some room for the weight enough to make a real good shot, but huge end for Dobbs.
And quite a change, a turn of events, if you will, as we saw things kind of shaping up one way and changing to another. So how do you expect Single Barrel to react here after a pretty big end from Dobbs?
There's still a lot of curling left to be played here. I don't think they're too concerned about it. They got hammered this end. It's going to be the first time this game. They're just going to try to put up some points.
It will be key to just get on the board here. And we'll see how they go with their first blocker.
All the way for weight. Take a look. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wow, good carry.
Is that terrible?
Don't put it in. Keep it tight. Yep, finish it.
You peel the front.
Good.
And it looks like they'll get their blocker in just to our right of the center line. A pretty good blocker to start.
Yeah, it's a good card. What they're looking for. I think the key here for Team Single Barrel, they're down a little bit earlier. They just got to take it one stone at a time. There's still plenty of curling left for them to get back in the game. They just don't want the lead to get any bigger, so they need to get some points back this end.
Sure, absolutely. We expect them to, really just try and focus on getting their stones in the house and see what they can do. And we'll see here what they can do with their first shot. And it's going to come close to the center line here. We'll see. Not a lot of sweeping and an easy guard. And they'll be just a little further to the other side here.
That's a good corner guard. When you have hammer, you're trying to guard at the corners. You want to leave the center as open as possible. The corner guards will make it easier for you to score bigger.
How far out to the sides do you really look, and how far is too far with a corner guard there?
I think that's just about where you want it. I don't know if you can see the lines on the ice that are about a few feet on either side of the center line. You want it a foot or so outside of that. So you're talking on the order of 5, 6 feet away from the center line, something like that.
It's like 3, all right.
And we'll see with the second guard here what Dobbs comes up with.
And again, Dobbs is trying to just guard at the center. I think it's a good guard. Ends up being about where he wanted. It's going to go.
It's going to clip the back of the first and end up just a shade to the right and behind of the corner blocker that we just discussed from Single Barrel.
What Single Barrel is going to do here, I think they're going to call for the hit and roll. So the idea is to hit that stone that Team Dobbs just threw in and roll behind the red center guard.
Not a lot of discussion. We'll see if that's what they've come up with here. Not coming quite as heavy as the skip wanted.
And he came off a bit inside, but he got the main objective. knock Team Dobbs' stone out.
And it looks like they've been able to do with their first couple of shots pretty much what they were looking for here, and they've been able to maintain mostly an even keel after a tough end. Jared, talk about a little bit about your experience coming back from a difficult end, and you know what your approach is and how you keep calm.
You really just got to clear everything out as much as possible. You know, what happened last end is what happened last end, and this end you got to just focus on doing your best this time. If you dwell too much in the past, it's going to just ruin the rest of your game.
And that's certainly very much on the skip to keep his team or her team at an even-keeled pace.
That's one of the beauties of curling, though. If you throw some terrible stones last end, you can make up this end. It's got a whole new sheet for you to work with.
Absolutely, and we'll see the shot here from Dobbs coming in just towards the top of the house there, just between the two blockers there from single barrel.
It looks like what Team Single Barrel is calling here is use that red that just came in that's nestled up against the single barrel stone that's sitting in the house. We're going to try to promote that stone up. It's called for about T plus weight. Idea is to hit that red stone into the yellow and knock it up a little bit.
This is the shot. It's got about that weight they're looking for. It's going to go ahead and knock the Dobbs blocker and push towards the right middle of the house there. Jared, your thoughts?
You know, I think that didn't curl quite as much as they were hoping for, but I think this one ends up being a better shot than what they called for. They got one stone that's well guarded. The one on the right is a little exposed. And I think you're going to see Dobbs try to take out the one on the right that is exposed.
And we'll see if they do that just now. Sweeping hard all the way. It looks like it will make contact there and pretty much replace the single barrel stone there that we had seen on the right side.
Yep, it's a nice shot, but you'll see single barrel try to do the same thing, take it out. Single barrel's hoping for a little bit of roll. They would love to roll behind the right guard there.
And what's the difference for those at home who may not be quite as familiar in trying to get that kind of roll? What kind of difference do you see in that shot versus a more typical straight-on approach?
Well, I mean, it's one of the most powerful shots in curling, but it's so hard to master because you're talking about a matter of inches here, or less than an inch. You need to hit the stone. In this case, they're trying to hit it maybe an inch or two to the left of center to get it to roll where they want it. Here they're going to hit it about half an inch to the right, and you see the stone sticks around and remains wide open for Dobbs to remove.
Again, certainly a popular shot when done right, but as you just discussed, a difficult one. And, you know, at least a somewhat safe shot there in just a replacement, but not quite getting the roll they're looking for and leaving them vulnerable here, as we mentioned for Dobbs. And here's Dobbs. Hard and heavy sweeping here. And that's going to come in. It doesn't look like quite what they had hoped for.
I think he came in a little inside. Not sure if the broom is in the wrong place too. But instead of taking out the yellow, he misses crashing against his own guard.
Is that potentially a case of a little bit too much finesse there, trying for a little bit too much and getting that roll instead of a simpler shot, or do you think that's just kind of one of those things?
Yeah, I think it played into it. When you saw Dobbs calling a shot, he put his broom to the far left side. You can see he was hoping for a big roll there. And in order to get that big roll, you're going to have to hit the stone as far left as possible while still hitting the stone. It leaves a very small margin of error. and I think they could have been the problem there.
And so now, as we've seen so far, we've seen now 2.5 ends. What have you seen any differences in the way, Skip Michael Dobbs for Team Dobbs and Paul Schultz for Single Barrel? Have you seen any differences in the way they're calling their games, they're approaching their game with their teams?
I think not too much so far. It's hard to say again with this being the first time that Single Barrel's had the hammer. Skipping with the hammer is so much different than without. They're wildly different strategies. So I think we want to be careful about reading too much into what they've shown so far.
And we'll see if Single Barrel can pick up on the thread left by Team Dobbs on a missed shot previously. It looks like it's not quite the weight they were hoping for. They're sweeping hard. It looks like it will just get over the hog line. Just barely, but only just. And Jared, is that the shot they were looking for, or is that?
I think they were trying to guard the one on the right. They maybe would have liked a little bit more cushion there, but it's still pretty well guarded, and that's the primary objective. Where their guard was is perhaps of less importance.
So if you're Team Dobbs now, what kind of shot do you expect to see in order to get past those guards?
You could throw. You could draw here. Is one option. It sounds like they might be calling for a takeout. The goal here would have been to hit their red into the yellow on the left. Try to knock it out.
Looks like they've gone with a slightly different approach.
And I think they missed the angle just a little bit. I think that's the shot they called. They just missed a little, and that's the margin for error for these shots are just so slim.
And again, it's just a measure of the skip's aversity to risk and weighing the pros and cons of potentially making or missing any given shot. But they came close there, and certainly just inches from potentially a much better shot. Daphne Roberts for Single Barrel. We'll see what she has to offer. Slow approach past the hog line. And that'll sit just about dead red in the middle on top of the house. Jared, do you like the approach?
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think, ordinarily when you have the hammer, you want to leave the middle open for as long as possible. But here, Single Barrel sitting 2, and they're just trying to protect those 2 at this point. By clogging up the middle, they make it harder for Dobbs to come in for either a hit or a draw.
So which side to you looks most vulnerable for Team Dobbs to try and make an attempt here?
I think they're going to hit the one in the back. They're still a little bit of apart, so I think they're going to try to take out for the yellow that's currently sitting shot. Ideally, they would take it out and remain shot. There's some stones there to hide behind. It's a small port. It's going to be a tough hit.
So this will be normal. Through the port, hit it, keep it rolled our direction.
I think you could hear Dobbs there confirming the shot that I called. It's nice to be right for a change.
We certainly appreciate the hard work and research you've put into both of these teams and into the event we have tonight. We'd like to thank our sponsors as well as the Iceplex here. Always a great place to catch a game, the Gardens.
And if you're not a member here at the Potomac Curling Club, I sincerely urge you to come out. We're a great club, a lot of fun. We're having an open house next weekend, next Saturday. You should go to our website, curldc.org, sign up. It'll be a lot of fun.
Pretty heavy weight here down the center line.
Couldn't quite sneak past that guard there. Crashes into it. Knocks it in the yellow. Knocks it into the house, rather.
Opening things up a little bit there, but not quite exactly what I think they were hoping for.
No, you know, it was a tough shot. Just missed it. And you know, that's sort of the agony of curling. 2 inches to the left, and that's a beautiful shot. Just couldn't quite sneak it past.
Certainly a game of inches, as it were. We'll see what single barrel here has available. As we see the first shot from Paul Schultz here. And it looks like that one will sit just about near where the previous guard was, just up top of the house. Do you like that guard?
And I think I might have tried to guard my stone sitting shot. Dobbs, I think, is going to try the same takeout. The port's a little bit wider now, but it's still a difficult shot. He wants to go take it out and remain sitting shot if possible, while hiding behind cover.
And we'll see if Michael Dobbs can do just that. He certainly has experience here, a little bit of a home field advantage. We'll see if that plays into it at all. Here's the last shot from Team Dobbs. Confidently down the ice.
Yes, Lord, yes!
Sweeping hard. And it looks like they've done, I think, pretty much what they were hoping for with that shot. Would you agree?
I'd say almost. You know, they did a great job taking out their stone. They're sitting shot now, so that's 2 objectives that they achieved. The problem is now their stone's a little exposed. Single barrel can take it out. It's not an easy shot, but I think it's there. And if they can get the stone to stick around, they'll be sitting 2, maybe 3. It's hard for me to tell.
It could be a close one, but we'll see. Still one big stone to go here. See what Paul Schultz has to offer. The final shot for single barrel here in the third end. That it does not look like it. Oh, it will get there. It'll nick the red stone, Jared. How many are we looking at here?
From my vantage point, looks like single barrel's going to pick up 1 point. That end. Could have gone better, but you know, could have gone worse too. It's great to pick up a point there. Didn't want to fall further behind. There's the opportunity for more, sure, but they're still in this one.
Absolutely. When you want hammer, always trying to get as many as you possibly can. But again, coming back and drawing closer at 4-2 certainly has to be seen as somewhat of a victory here for Team Single Barrel.
Yeah, also a little bit of disappointment too. I think you can see on his face he wanted more there. Let's talk about the stakes of this game, Gib. What happens to the team who wins?
Well, Jared, we're here in Serie B within the Spiel d'Italia, and the winner will go on to play tomorrow in the finals of B. With the loser moving down. So certainly big stakes. They played a couple of matches today, and certainly very important for everyone moving forward and to build some confidence going into the final day. As we see the first guard here from Team Single Barrel, and that's going to go certainly further than
That is on the button.
I think what they would have expected. No?
Sure. For those of you who don't know, the phrase "on the button" actually originates from curling. The little white circle in there in the middle is called the button, and it's curling's contribution to the English language.
Guard. Oh, guard. Okay.
And to come back to the placement a little bit, as we mentioned, this is Saturday evening. We've had a couple of matches. Jared, certainly everybody here to have a good time, and everyone, fans and players alike seem to be enjoying themselves. But does it have to be seen as a disappointment to make it this far to the semifinals of Serie B and be knocked out?
I mean, sure. Everyone's coming in is looking to win. I think every team here has a good shot to win. We got a lot of great teams here at the Spiel d'Italia. But Bonspiel is a lot more difficult to play in than a lot of people realize. If you haven't done it before, it's surprisingly grueling. You're throwing multiple games a day. But it involves a lot of sweeping. It's hard on your arms. And curling involves a lot of drinking too. After each game, you're sitting there, broom stacking, drinking with the other team, having a good time. And you can start early in the morning and you're at the late draw. So.
And Jared, for those people tuning in who may not have the experience, broom stacking is what?
So it's a curling tradition. After the game, both teams go into the warm room here where we're broadcasting from. They have tables set up and they sit and schmooze with the other team for a little bit. Whichever team wins has to buy the losing team a round of beers. So even if you lose, you get free beer.
And I think we certainly wish we could be joining in the revelry after some of these games.
Oh, absolutely. Also want to make sure to give some shout-outs to the kitchen staff here. I've heard nothing but good things about the food that they've made all weekend. It's a lot of work to cook for this many people. I think they did a great job. Everyone volunteering their time. And same thing with the bartending staff. They're offering up a number of tasty beverages.
Certainly a well-run club, if there were one.
We like to think so.
As we see the shot from Team Dobbs that will come in a little bit heavier, not quite exactly what they were looking for, and a little bit of intrigue early on here in the fourth end. Jared, would you say?
Yeah, and just to go back to that shot where they sailed through the house, that's actually my specialty, throwing this down through the house. I've called upon, I can do it. No problem.
Certainly one of the more common shots I think you often see from elementary curlers still learning the weight levels and quite figuring out how to get the appropriate amount of energy out of the hack.
Yeah, no, and it's tough. Even the ice itself shifting from one end to the other as time goes on over the course of a match. The weight you need to throw can vary a little bit.
And again, we talk about the adjustments from game to game within a same day, dealing with the fatigue as well as any potential changes in the ice. Certainly well kept, but throughout a match and throughout a day, there are certainly changes to be expected.
Oh, absolutely. Get back to the match at hand. You can see Single Barrel has a stone on the button, and it's pretty well guarded by two stones in front of it.
And perhaps not what they had expected early on, sitting one of their first couple stones on the button, but with a couple of guards there, it looks like it may turn out a little bit better for them than they expected.
Well, sure, there's a lot of stones left to play, but they like the guards that they have now. Dobbs is going to, with a shot, take out one of them, the one that's in the house on the right. Nadero, maybe he'll get a double take at it as well, but he's mostly trying to clear up the center a little bit.
Oh, control up.
Important early shot here for Team Dobbs. And that will just miss, just a clear miss. In case of not curling enough or a missed angle. Jared, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he came out, kept it a little wide on that shot. You can see Dobbs after the shot pointed a few inches to the right where Keith had let up instead of where Mike Dobbs had called for it. You know what happens. And again, it's not a big miss. It's only 2 or 3 inches that came out of the heck wrong, but that's enough to sail the shot through.
We'll see what single barrel does here. They're putting another one pretty high up, another guard, it looks like. It's going to be pretty short just in front of the other two guards. Jared, what's the thought process there on calling that shot?
Yeah, well, what single barrel is doing here is trying to protect everyone on the button as much as possible. One way to think about it is what Dobbs is trying to do in their shot, single barrel is trying to block up. So Dobbs is trying to get rid of some of the guards. Single barrel wants to put up more guards. I think it curled a little bit more than they wanted. They were hoping to cover both. The right guard, the one that Dobbs was trying first time, is still exposed.
A little bit of a slippage there, but we'll see if that shot is salvageable. It does not look like that. They're going to go ahead and abandon ship, and that one will go ahead and sail through on the house. A tough loss there with single barrel having a bunch of blockers and one sitting on the button. Must be a disappointment.
Yeah, it's a tough shot, and the important thing is shake it off. Still got 4 more stones to go this end. He's going to be throwing more stones next end, so you know what? It happens. Missed a shot.
Certainly appreciate the Taylor Swift reference, Jared, for all of our viewers out there. And
I do what I can.
We'll see if Team Dobbs is able to shake it off and avoid a potentially disastrous end.
Trying to figure out how to work teardrops on my guitar into curling broadcasts. It's a little tough at the moment.
I'll be impressed if that's able to be done seamlessly. Here's Daphne Roberts, the vice here for single barrel. Some hard sweeping, potentially not what they were looking for. It's going to come in close to the other guards in terms of east and west. Will it make it over the hog line?
It was a little light, but you could see it over curling. I don't think Schultz was caring too much at that point if it got over or not. Blogs up the center some more.
Now, is there risk, Jared, in blocking up the center so much but leaving the sides with a lot of exposure here?
Well, I mean, not too much. The thing is the single barrel stone is right on the button there. So in order for Dobbs to get in, they're going to have to draw in and knock it off. So if the side's open, it's a lot more difficult to do so. I think they're going to try right now. There was a little bit of a port there.
Wait only! Wait only! Yes!
It's a tough shot, though, because you got to draw with the button.
We'll see if they have the requisite skill. It'll draw a little bit, but I don't think it will quite draw to the button, and it won't. It'll miss just a couple of inches to our left here. Not quite the curl they were hoping for.
No, I think that's why that shot is so difficult. It's so well guarded there that you need to have the weight to at least get to the button. You're looking for T plus weight just past T, but it's got to come in and curl in. It's a tough shot.
And what kind of shot have you seen them call for here for Team Single Barrel?
I think Single Barrel is sort of going to follow them in. They're looking to plug up that port. Ideally, I think they're going to be trying to come into the house and be sitting second or third with the shot. But most importantly, I think they want to plug up the port that Dobbs is trying to use.
It does appear headed that way, and we'll see if it makes it.
You heard him call narrow, and they were on it immediately.
Calling for hard sweeping here. And that's going to curl pretty close to their blockers there.
That helps a little bit. It wasn't exactly what they were looking for, but it helps a little bit. It's going to be just that much more difficult to draw in, which is what Dobbs is going to try here.
If nothing else, still keeping a bunch of stones on the board and close to the house there, and certainly something to be said for that as well.
Absolutely.
Here's the last shot for the Vice here on Team Dobbs. Michael Sell. And it looks like they're taking a similar approach. Will it get there?
It's going to crash into the guard that they just put up, and you see that's why Single Barrel may not have hit exactly what they wanted, but they wicked off that top guard, and left their stone just enough to the left that Dobbs, or rather Michael Sell, couldn't quite sneak past him.
So now for both teams, what kind of strategizing do we have here with just a couple of stones to go here for both teams?
Well, I think Single Barrel has to be happy with their stone on the button there. I think, you know, it's a question of how greedy should they get. Should they try to get more out of this end? Should they try to steal more? It's going to be difficult for Dobbs to knock that one on the button in. But Dobbs' throw from Vice, Mike Sell, is now sitting second, whereas before Single Barrel was sitting two. So I think Single Barrel now it's a question of how risky do they want to get? Do they want to try to get more than one point out of this end?
We'll see what Paul Schultz has up his sleeve as he readies his first shot. Once again down their right side to our left here from the broadcasting booth. Hard sweeping now approaching the hog line. And I'm not quite sure if there are magnets on these ice, but these stones are sticking pretty close to the center line here tonight.
Yes, sir.
And that's 7 stones now, all within roughly 7 or 8 inches of the center line there for Single Barrel, and if nothing else, they've got that accuracy down.
Absolutely. Dobbs here is going to try for the draw again. He thinks it's there. He may well be right. It's a tough shot. It's got to be a heavy draw. You've got to draw to the button, but a little bit past it. Heavy enough to get past the guards, but tight enough that it curls right in there. It may be there, but there's a very small margin for error here.
Is there a different approach that you would potentially recommend? What are the other options here?
No, I mean, it's tough. The only other possible option is to throw a stone maybe to the right, leave it a little high to knock in with your next stone. There's no guarantee that Schultz would leave it alone, and it's a tough shot to hit.
And certainly an important part of skipping is seeing the future, if you will, planning ahead, not just thinking of the current shot, but you know the possibilities for the next shot and the shot after that. We'll see what they've taken into account here as Michael Dobbs with his last shot.
That's why they call the sport chess on ice.
And we'll see, rather, his second to last shot, his first shot. Michael Dobbs. We'll see it is coming a little bit wider than the last one. Doesn't quite have the curl they were looking for.
And it was a little light. You know, they can use that stone. It is open to try to promote it in right now. Schultz may try to block that up.
They've certainly been right there on that left side. Their right, our left. We'll see if they make that approach and try that shot. Paul Schultz here, the last shot for Team Single Barrel here in end number 4. Going pretty close to center there. Not quite sure where this one is going to end up just yet. Looks like potentially just an attempt at plugging up that hole, and not sure it will cross the hog line, but a little baffled by that one. Jared, is that just attempting to block up that hole?
Yeah, no, I actually think it's a fine shot. They left it really high, certainly. But what Dobbs had done with his first shot was leave it open to promote it in and potentially knock out the yellow stone on the button. The left side is pretty well plugged up now. He's going to try to come in the right somehow.
And with that early stone from single barrel still sitting right there on the button. This is going to be a pretty difficult draw, I would expect, to get all the way back in there behind all of those blockers, but certainly a doable one.
It's a tough shot, yeah.
Here's the approach for Dobbs. Sweeping hard. Dobbs calling for hard sweeping. Does not look like it's going to get there, and it won't.
Yeah.
It won't.
That was a tough shot.
And that single barrel shot that it's that button early on will stay there.
And you know, when I'm throwing leader second, that's kind of thing just makes my day. When you can throw a stone early on, that ends up being the one that's counting. You know, a lot of times when you're leader second, you're throwing the same kind of shot over and over, and it's not that your shots don't matter. It's just that the vices and skips are a little more equal. They tend to have a little more impact on the game. So when you can get one of your stones and stick around, it's a great feeling.
We have to expect they feel the same.
Yellow and the red.
As we go on to end number 5. Here's single barrel to start. Brian Stewart the lead.
So let me ask you, what do you think of these personalized jerseys that Team Single Barrel sporting?
You know, it can be a fine balance between, you know, being seen as overconfident as well as having a little bit of style, a little bit of panache. And I have to say, me personally, I like them. I like the direction they're going. I can't quite say they're up to par with the Norwegian national curling pants, but
I mean, what is?
you know, that's certainly a high bar to cross here as we see single barrel with a guard up top, straight down line.
And a solid guard it is. Presumably curling out of the Pittsburgh club. Or maybe they just like Pittsburgh. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not quite sure. Pittsburgh having a little bit of resurgence in terms of baseball jerseys.
I will say I curled at Pittsburgh for their 4th of July bunch this year, and it was an absolute pleasure. I highly recommend it to everyone.
A good club?
Yeah, it was arena ice, the curl out of a hockey arena, which is cool. I hadn't done that before. But they put on a great bunch spiel. It was great ice. It was a lot of fun.
As we look on to Brian Stewart's second shot here. Second shot for single barrel. And just to catch you up to speed, for those of you joining late, Team Dobbs, Team Single Barrel, the Spiel d'Italia here at the Gardens Ice House, all knotted up in the 5th end.
It's actually Embassy Road, Spiel d'Italia.
I apologize. Thank you for the clarification. All tied up at 4 here in the 5th end. Team Dobbs still sitting with hammer. As we see what Team Dobbs comes up with here on their second shot. JR grows their lead.
Yes!
That'll come into the right side of your screen. It's going to come just a little bit past the button here. Do you like that shot?
I do. I think it's well hit it now. That's a solid shot.
Second, Leonard Jarabek for single barrel. coming down the ice pretty heavy. And that'll just curl between the two stones there.
What a great shot.
Wow, very nice.
See, Dobbs' stone was just behind the tee line, so they use it for backing. Throws done right to the button. And because he froze to it, it's going to be hard to knock that stone out.
Always happy when you get a freeze like that. A challenge to get just the right weight to not hit it too short and leave too much space, but not hit it too hard and risk knocking it too far. We'll see the reply from Dobbs. Satisfied with the weight thus far.
I think the line was a bit off. Not quite what they wanted. Single barrel now, sitting first and second. And it's going to be hard to knock both the single barrel stones out with one throw. And that's before single barrel attempts to guard it up with the shot.
That attempt at a single barrel guard.
It didn't look like it picked, but I didn't watch her handle it.
Easing up on the sweeping. It's got some late draw here.
That's right on the center line. I think that's exactly what they wanted in the house.
And that's one thing that we've now seen in a couple ends is single barrel drawing to that center line and doing a pretty good job at it.
And you know, that's one of the things that skip when your team is doing well with a specific type of shot. You want to try to structure the game so to make them call those shots as much as possible. Single barrel, and it's probably part of Schultz's strategy to begin with, but they've been drawing down to that center line with guards and draws very well. So he's going to continue to try to set up the end to allow him to do so as much as possible.
Some satisfaction here. We'll see where that shot goes. And that'll go into the single barrel stone as well as the further back Team Dobbs stone as well.
And on the flip side, I think Dobbs these past end or two has had a little bit of a struggle with the heavier shots. To be certain, a lot of them have been more difficult ones to make absolutely. But you've seen him just a touch off with all of them.
And how difficult can it be to make those adjustments? And you know, certainly mid-game, you're on the road here. I mean, it's certainly an important piece of the game, but certainly a challenge.
You know, it's tough, especially in a bond spiel when you've been curling 2 or 3 times. If some cork in your delivery just springs up, start coming a little bit off. It's hard to correct that mid-game, especially now that you're going to be tired.
Do you also really start to see that fatigue as we enter into you know, just past the 10 o'clock hour on Saturday night when teams have had a few matches already today?
You definitely do. These teams have had 2 or 3 games today. They might have started early in the morning. It's a lot to do. And especially because a lot of these curlers, they're curling, even if they're curling multiple times a week, they're usually curling 1 night a week, 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week. They're not having to curl multiple games a day. They're not having to curl 3 or 4 games in 2 days in a row.
You mentioned some of those differences between you know, a normal curling match and a bond spiel. Are there any other differences, any changes in preparation or execution, anything that you do differently start to finish?
I think there's an element of pressure in a bond spiel that it's hard to replicate in most league games. Maybe in the playoffs or something is the only time you get close. But a bond spiel, there's just an element of pressure that you put on yourself. and it can be hard to prepare for that without just doing more and more bunch drills.
And we'll see how both teams deal with that as we get back to the game. And Team Dobbs in there and knocking that stone there close to the button. And what do you see here, Jack?
Yeah, Dobbs is trying to just chip away at the center stones. Single Barrel's got 2 in there, and what's going to happen now is Single Barrel's going to keep trying to plug it up. Dobbs is going to keep chipping away the guards and try to get out.
And for Dobbs, seeing Team Single Barrel struggling a little bit with the heavier weights, struggling a little bit with some of those heavier shots, do you make any adjustments there and try and force them into something that you're seeing as a little bit of a weakness?
Yeah, well, I mean, Dobbs is the one with just a touch of it, and I don't want to over-exaggerate there. We're talking coming off by a few inches, missing their weight by tenths of a second. It's not like they're missing badly, but they have missed some tough, harder shots, heavier shots. And so I think if possible, Single Barrel is going to try to force them into that. But I think mostly Single Barrel is going to keep calling their game.
Sweeping hard, here is Single Barrel. And that's just going to be a very high guard just in front of the Team Dobbs stone. Again, center line.
Yeah, overcurled a little bit. I think they would have preferred an inch or 2 to the left if possible.
A little bit of discussion here.
I think Dobbs is trying to figure out what weight he wants. It's a tough question because there's 2 stones in there. He's trying to figure out how to knock one out, leave his stone around if possible, but also move the second one enough so that it can be knocked out with a future shot.
Oh, that's so bad.
Here is the 6th shot here for Team Dobbs here in the 5th end, what has been a quick end.
Yep.
Doesn't look like they're quite satisfied with that one.
No, I think Sal came out
through.
a bit wide on that one. And, again, there's just the struggling a little bit with the hits on Team Dobbs.
Michael Sell can't be too pleased with that shot, but still 2 stones to go here for both teams, so still a lot that can happen.
Oh, absolutely. Single Barrel has to like the position they find themselves in now. But if they miss a guard here, it leaves it wide open for Dobbs.
Here's that shot. From Single Barrel, Paul Schultz's first shot, the skip. We'll see if it has what they were looking for. And potentially a little dangerous, do you think, Jared, coming in quite so close?
No, I mean, I think the primary objective was to guard up the 2 stones on the button there. It's they might have preferred an inch or 2 to the right, but I think where the stone ended up isn't so much as important as being in front of their stones that are sitting shot.
So you're Michael Dobbs. You're the skip here for Team Dobbs.
Let me just correct you there for a second. I'm Jared Weiss. I'm not Michael Dobbs.
Well, let's play a little make-believe here, a little role-playing, if you will. Michael Dobbs, 2 shots here. Got a little bit of a difficult board here. What's your strategy with these last 2 shots?
You've got to try to just throw more takeouts, and you've got to take out, figure out a way to get at the stones that are sitting 1 and 2 shot right now. He's going to throw possibly at the stone that Single Barrel just put in there. Hope you can do a double takeout. He's going to throw with a lot of weight here, looks like.
And that's the signal we're seeing.
Yep.
Heavy weight.
And just try to hope some stuff happens. This is where it can be difficult to predict exactly what's going to happen when you're throwing a lot of weight. You just hope that the stone gets in there and knocks some stuff around.
A little bit of the close your eyes and pray approach. Send it down there heavy, and with so many stones there, that is one potential thing that you see sometimes with so many stones in there. And we'll see what Michael Dobbs can do.
Close your eyes and pray is actually my trademark curling style.
Also what I do in the car with Jared driving, for your information. A little bit of polishing here. Dobbs getting ready, potentially wants to get everything ready to go, sweeping out just in front of the hack.
Part of that's routine, and part of it you do, you want to clean off the stone. The ice should be very clean at this point, but stones can pick up anything that could knock it off course just a little bit. So it's a good policy just to clean off your stone before each throw.
Are we getting too far towards what you're seeing in Major League Baseball now with these approaches just taking so long before each shot? Is that something that you're seeing, Jared?
I mean, not often. I think that you need to be able to have some sort of routine, because curling is, a lot of it is mental. You want to make sure you put yourself in the right mental position to make each shot. The thing about pond spiels is that they're timed, like competitive curling, so they don't have a lot of time to prepare mentally for their shot. But I think a few seconds is appropriate.
And one of those blockers knocked away by Team Dobbs with 1 stone to go. And you mentioned that time. We have just over 17 minutes left to go. Jared, talk a little bit about that time limit. Talk about what it means for the teams, and talk a little bit about how they prepare now, knowing that they have just about 17 minutes left to go. Just talk us through that situation.
Since these teams are tied, I don't think it's going to factor as much as I've played in matches when I've been behind, time's running out. You're trying to get through this end as quickly as possible so you can get to the next and the next. You can't start a new end once the time is up. There's something in curling called the spirit of curling. No team would ever try to intentionally slow things down. Not like a sport like soccer, for example, where you can try to kill time. Curling, not really supposed to do that. So when time's running out, they may try to want to get 2 more ends in here. They may try to speed up a little bit, and that can knock you off your game a little bit.
Absolutely, as we see another blocker laid in by Paul Schultz with his final shot for the team here in the 5th end. And Jared, what kind of odds are you seeing here for Michael Dobbs being able to get one in here with another blocker laid up there by a single ball?
This is a tough shot. I think what they're looking at now is you can see him pointing to the 1 stone at the top of the house, potentially trying to knock it in. I think the angle is there to maybe knock out one of single barrel stones, the front one in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
The one behind, the one on the button, would still likely be a hitting shot, but this way you can cut single barrel down from 2 to 1. And at this point in the game, that every point matters so much.
Absolutely, as we mentioned, tied 5th end, 15 minutes left to go. A lot of action to be played, to be sure, but important to keep it close as we approach what will be the final end soon.
This is a really difficult shot. You have to hit the stone in the exact right place, essentially. Even half an inch in either direction will send it off course. And you also need to throw with enough weight to knock the yellow stone out of play or out of position.
Will Dobbs be able to do that here? End number 5.
Yes!
Strong word, strong stone. And it's not going to make it there. It'll hit their own blocker, and that'll be 2 for single barrel here in end number 5.
Yeah, it was a nice try by Dobbs. It was the right shot to call, and missed by just a little bit. It's so tough to make this.
And as they clear it out, we'll give you a quick look at the scoreboard here. As we mentioned, 6-4, team single barrel. As we head into end number 6.
That's a neat graphic. We can give you a score update on the other sheets. Unfortunately, I can't really see who's playing. But I can tell you sheet A is tied up at 3. Sheet C is 10-1 at the moment, and sheet D is looks like it's 7-2.
And sheet C, which we can't see, is Team Rudd and Team Howie, it looks like.
But we don't know who's winning or losing. It's kind of like Schrodinger's stone.
As we see the first shot here from single barrel.
We've talked about this a little bit. Single barrel has been so good with their guards all day, especially the ones in the center. They have their guard weight down pat. That's something that's so vital for a lead to throw. but up and down, second, vice, and skip have thrown great guards. That can be so difficult. Throwing from a later position, when you're a second, you're throwing a lot of takeouts, vice, and skip, a lot of very difficult shots you're throwing. To be able to find the right weight for those guards is so crucial.
Certainly crucial and oftentimes underlooked, I think. For Team Dobbs here now, Jared, down 2 with 12 minutes left to go. Do you count on another end? Do you play it differently here? What kind of approach do you have to have?
I think you play your game, and I think you have hammer. Team Dobbs does. So I think just play their normal solid game. I've seen them do it many times. They're certainly a capable team. Putting up 2 points with hammer is not an issue. I think they just can't outthink themselves here. They're tired. I'm sure they're putting pressure on themselves, but if they stick to their game, it's absolutely still within reach.
And as we look on to shot number 2 here from Single Barrel, coming pretty heavily down the ice, looking for a takeout. And it's not going to get there. It's going to slide just a mere inch or 2 to our left here of that stone from Team Dobbs. And Jared, I think oftentimes you can see sometimes something that may not look like a big deal, and certainly we don't want to make any assumptions early on, but sometimes that small momentum shift or that a little bit of a whiff can be a boost for a team here on the ice.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is something I've learned as I've curled throughout the years. When you first start off with curling first and second, you miss plenty of shots. And you say, oh, it doesn't really matter. My vice, my skip can pick me up. As you curl more and more, you can see how a miss early on in the end can just cascade down through the rest of the end and make it harder and harder for your team to get back in it.
As we see with a kiss there, we see Team Dobbs sticking there, 2 stones together. And do you like that shot?
It's not bad. I think they were hoping to guard it up a little higher. Having stones in the house isn't a bad call for them. It's going to be hard to do any sort of double takeout here, I think. But generally speaking, I think they're hoping for stones in front of that T-line. Not give Team Single Barrel anything to rest on.
All the way!
Sweeping all the way here is the call. Crossing the hog line. It looks like it'll just get there, knocking the first and then the second stone here from Team Dobbs, but pushing one of their stones towards the back middle of the house and pushing Single Barrel stone over to our right, closer to the tee line.
Yeah, I think an ideal shot there from Single Barrel would have nosed both of the top stone there, leaving the Single Barrel stone shot and knocking out one of Team Dobbs' stones. Instead here, we see Dobbs is shot and guarded somewhat.
And we'll see that one coming very close to their earlier shot. It's going to nick it, and they will both sit towards the back of the house. As we approach on time here, want to take a moment again to appreciate all the fans listening and watching on the webcast. We certainly appreciate everybody's input, and certainly felt here.
And we hope you're having a good time.
I can't think of a better way to spend a Saturday night, so we certainly appreciate all of you joining us here tonight.
And be sure to tune in tomorrow morning. The draw is at 10, I believe. It'll be the finals for the Serie A, Serie B, Serie C, and Serie D events. The finals for all of them, it should make some great curling.
Absolutely, Jared, as we see Single Barrel here with their shot, and that's going to come pretty close and sit just about just inches behind the butt.
Just behind the butt.
With their 4th shot.
And I think that's actually about a foot or so deeper than Schultz wanted on that one. Dobbs can still come to that one.
We've seen a pretty swift game so far. Do you think these teams are cognizant of the time, and do you think they're playing towards it and trying to get in another end, and how do you balance that?
They are cognizant. Also, had a long day. They might just want to get home. I think when you're curling a Bonspiel, generally speaking, most of these teams have curled a Bonspiel before. If you're not confident at the time, you're trying to keep a good pace. Both it's more fair to the other team and in the spirit of curling.
See the shot from Team Dobbs here, and that's going to come in, and that's going to just go barely by that stone sitting on the button, and now 3 at the back of the house for Team Dobbs.
Yeah, I think that was a little lighter than he wanted, and he definitely wanted to come to and knock back the stone from single barrel that's sitting right behind the button. The problem now is the stone for single barrel has a bit of a backboard there. It's going to be hard to get rid of it entirely.
Just a few shots left here for both teams here in number 6. Once again, as we mentioned, 6-4 here. But Team Dobbs keeping hammer.
They're shaking over on sheet C. One team has definitely won. The other has definitely lost.
And we certainly appreciate that expert insight as always, Jared. I think the highlight on sheet C is certainly the rush toward jersey.
Oh man, I missed that somehow. That's an amazing jersey.
Yep.
I wish you guys at home could see that. Wow.
Well, not everyone can live in the limelight, as it were.
Whoa.
And it looks like another high guard here for single barrel, as we've seen them do throughout the match.
Oh yeah.
Back line. Try and kick this over.
Great game. Good luck tomorrow.
Now, heel the guard. Normal. Off. Line.
Apologize for the technical difficulties, some shoddy camera work by our camera person here, but we'll get you back here.
We have a camera person?
I believe it's today camera work being done by Art Vandelay.
This. All right, let's play that line. If it's perfect, we'll freeze it.
And it looks like they're going to possibly attempt a freeze here. Whereas Team Dobbs hoping for a 10th Avenue freeze out.
That's not really a good joke yet.
We'll let the fans at home be the judges. As we see now, Daphne Roberts, Vice, single barrel.
Yes, narrow.
Coming down the line.
Yes, line.
Skip Paul Schultz calling for a heavy
Yes,
sweeping.
line. Whoa.
Yeah, I think this time came out a little narrow. It's also a little lighter than they were hoping for. It's going to sit up there. Going to be a trademark single barrel guard.
That's, again, we've seen that all game from them, and they're going to keep it up there. But keeping it a pretty straight line, so still leaving a lot of ice there for Team Dobbs.
Wait on me. Make sure it's
And we'll see
here.
what Dobbs can do with that space.
Yes. Off. Off. Whoa, let it room. Wait on it. Make sure it's right heel. Got it frozen. Yes. Yes.
Sweeping hard, hard.
Great shot.
And that's a great shot by Sal there. It's so difficult to do. It's a heavy draw coming in that way. So little margin for error. Had to knock the Yellowstone off. Still well guarded. It's going to be tough for single barrel to get rid of that stone.
And so what can Paul Schultz do here with a tough setup like that as we approach just over 3.5 to go here?
Well, the tough thing is he's going to have to. He could follow him in, but because the Yellowstone there is for backing, it's going to be difficult to knock off Dobbs with one shot. You could try to follow him in with a similar sort of heavy draw, and then possibly next shot take it out.
And we'll see that approach coming down the left side of our vantage point. Getting ready to sweep and sweeping. And sweeping hard, and that's going to come close. Will it get there? Does it have enough? No.
You know, that's fine. Dobbs is going to try to close that up possibly, but if he can't, it's in a fine position to hit that into the Dobbs stone sitting shot.
So for Dobbs here, what do you expect as a comeback?
I think Dobbs wants to protect that stone. It's going to be tough to get two out of this end at this point. So I think he's considering guarding that up. Looking at the time, he may also try to figure out a way to knock it out.
It's going to be tough here as we come with just under 2.5 to go. Not a lot of time left. I'm not sure they're going to get that last end in. You know, certainly want to get there if they can, but at the same time want to make sure they take enough time to get the shot they need. And with that then being down 2 certainly changes the strategy a little.
Yeah, you know what, it can. Another option here is if you do a similar sort of heavy draw, just past tail-line weight, you come across the Yellowstone in front, you could potentially knock it out, leave yours guarded, and be sitting first and second. There's no easy shot here, that's for sure.
Certainly a lot of pressure here as we get to just under 2 minutes to play here, so it looks like this will almost certainly be our last end, but we'll keep you apprised.
We can't mess over there and sit 1, 2.
Long ways to drag over.
I know, we got to get over the guard.
Yeah.
You're right, it's going to be a long way to get over. I think you guys have a couple of minutes. And as long as the weight's good, the beginning, you won't get there. So it's not here.
It looks like they shook on sheet D.
All right, thank you for the update, Jared.
No problem. I'm guessing one team won there as well. One team probably lost.
You would expect, but we don't want to make any assumptions here. We'll see what Dobbsy has here.
Get line, we have a little room, but not a ton.
They're sweeping hard. We'll see if it has the curl. May be a little too sharp.
That's it there, it's not there yet. Not there yet. Yes.
And a
That's a
gutsy
great
call. A gutsy call.
That's a fantastic shot right
Tremendous
there.
applause here from the warm room. The fans love it. Jared, do you love it?
I do love it, Gavin. I think that's about as good a shot as you could ask for. They're sitting first and second now. It's going to be hard to knock them out.
Jared, being unfamiliar with the rules at the Ice House, if we sit following this end, which time has now expired, what happens in the event of a tie?
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't seen the rules here. They're either going to play one more end or they'll do skip stones. Maybe I should have researched that.
Well, we'll have to go back to our research team in the truck and ask them to do a little bit harder work next
It's
time.
definitely their fault, I would say. I expect to be better prepped by them. You can expect someone to be fired.
But we'll see again the situation here. Time has expired, 6th end. We do have single barrel up by 2, but we have Team Dobbs sitting first and second.
Yeah, and I think what they're trying to do is figure out a way to maybe hit that Yellowstone, knock out some reds that way. Another option is to follow Dobbs in, from the way that Dobbs just came in and go a little heavier, try to knock one of the reds out.
Certainly the pressure is mounting. All the hard work they've put in both teams today, from the leads on down to the skips, certainly taxing and a long day and one more tomorrow that they hope to make it to. As we see some discussion here from from Single Barrel. Not sure quite what approach to make.
Yeah, and I mean, complicating factors is Dobbs has hammer, so Dobbs is going to have a no throw after this, no matter what Single Barrel manages to do.
It looks like they've settled on a shot. And about as crucial a shot as any here for Team Single Barrel, as the other teams on the other sheets are finishing up, and attention coming to sheet B here, and we'll see what they have up their sleeve.
And, you know, with Dobbs having hammer, I'm sure Single Barrel is also worried about potentially knocking their own stone out of play and leaving the end open for Dobbs to take 3 and win it.
Absolutely a risk here. That's coming in hard. Oh, and it's just barely going to hit that guard. You hear the audible gasps. Jared, it had a chance there, but now they've quite missed. And well, you know, there's still certainly a good chance for a tie, but you know, what do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah, you know, if I were Dobbs, I would consider throwing the exact same shot that I just threw. If he could do that again, might be able to set 3.
But the risk in there being you don't want to hit it too hard, don't want to hit it the wrong angle, and risk blowing up the whole thing.
That's true. Yeah, I think you've got to judge you know, what your level of risk is there. Do you want to try to win it here?
You know, as they say, no guts, no glory, as we come upon 11:15 here on Saturday night. And, you know, teams certainly played a long game and wanted to end well. But, you know, I think if it were up to me, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'm playing for the win here.
Yeah, and I don't think he's not playing for the win. Looks like he's going to try to draw in again. Figure out a way to nestle just in there. It's going to be fully in the 4-foot. Got to figure out a way to outcount the 2 single barrel stones sitting in the 4-foot.
It's got to be just so. Watching like a hawk, calling for the sweep now. Now up. It's going to be close. It'll be in the ballpark. But I don't quite think it's going to get there.
It's a bit heavy, a bit wide.
A bit heavy indeed. And it looks like we've got 2 here.
And I think we'll be playing another end.
And we know everybody's been itching for bonus curling here. So we've got 6-6 here as we enter what will be the final end here in this battle between Team Dobbs, Team Single Barrel.
Guard!
Dobbs has got to figure out a way to steal a point this end. He's only scored twice in this game, both times with hammer.
Again, 4 points in the second, 2 in the 6th.
Whoa for line, whoa for line. Whoa, off.
And we'll see if they can get their first guard in here. Again, they have not scored without hammer, so we'll see what they're able to do here. That first guard's going to come close to the center line and just a bit to the right on our side. And Jared, how do nerves play in here in a sudden death situation?
Oh, it can be so tough, Kevin. Because, you know, one missed shot, even by half an inch, could mean the game here. There's not going to, you know, there's no next game. There's no next end. This is to play for a shot at the B event finals.
One goes on, one goes home. First shot for Single Barrel. And that'll curl just behind that first guard there, also to the right side. Do you like the shot, Jared?
No, that's a great shot. That's exactly what they were going for. It's guarded.
1-2.
The sheet's quiet as others finish, increasing the pressure, the focus.
There's room.
A lot of drama, a lot of excitement here on sheet B at the Gardens.
1, 2.
You know, along with nerves, they're just tired at this point, Gavin. They've had a long day of curling. They're
I know I
expecting
am.
it to end. You're an old man, my friend. This is way past your bedtime. And somehow we're up to over 21 viewers now. Guess some people got home and figured, might as well turn on the curling.
Or we've had
Thanks for joining.
a lot of referrals. And once again, to set the stage for those of you just joining us, we are now in end number 7, what will be the final end of the semifinals of Serie B. Finals to be played tomorrow. We're at the Gardens Ice House. We have Team Dobbs, Team Single Barrel with hammer here. And it looks like another Dobbs guard just to the left this side of the center line. Here's the second shot from Single Barrel. Makes its way down the ice.
Back here.
Will cross the blockers. It's going to be close to their first shot, and that's going to sit just behind the button. A very nice shot, keeping the pressure on.
That's a great shot. It's well guarded. It's going to be hard to get to both of those yellows. You know, keep in mind Dobbs has to find a way to get a point from this end, which can be so hard with hammer.
And again, just 1 point to win it. First to score is going to take this.
Yes! Hard! Wait over.
The skip's really getting into it.
All the way hard.
Michael Dobbs yelling for the hard sweep all the way down. Coming onto your screen from the bottom. And that's going to be darn close, just to the left.
No, that's a great shot.
That close stone.
You know, ideally he would have been a little deeper. Got it back, but you know, having the red stone there does leave it open for a future hit to take out the yellow. So I think it's a solid shot.
And again, every shot's so vital as we are in the final end here. Not a lot of margin for error. The team that scores will move on to tomorrow's Serie B finals.
And I think the important thing to keep in mind about the strategy here in this sort of sudden death kind of end, that you just need 1 point. Getting 2 or 3 or 4 is irrelevant. So both skips here are just trying to find a way to make sure they get the 1. They don't care if it puts them in a position to give up 6 if they were to miss their shot. They just want to make sure they're in a position so they have the ability to get 1.
And as you mentioned, Jared, certainly a change in strategy when only 1 point is needed. No risk at giving up a huge end where you might play it a little safer, sometimes potentially earlier on here. With just 1 point to win it, there's really no downside as long as you're playing to put yourself in that position for 1 point. There's a shot from Single Barrel. Not quite sure. A lot of sweeping. And that is going to, in fact, touch that first Dobbs guard and will sit to the left of the tee line here as this final end starts to take shape.
I think that's more or less, you know, where they want to stone that up. They're just trying to guard the center at this point. You know, I think what Dobbs is considering right now, there is a little bit of a port between the front 2 guards. Dobbs is trying to figure out a way to get to his stone, to knock the Single Barrel stone on the button back somehow. There's a bit of a port there. It's a tough shot. This is very narrow. Have to hit that almost precisely.
But as they say in the business, any port in the storm, and we'll see which one they go for.
Which business is that, Kevin?
The business.
The business. One of my favorite businesses. Instead, Dobbs is called for a peel here. which means he just wanted us to clear up the center a little bit.
Control.
I think some people were expecting that to be the Mario Kart banana peel getting in the way of the future shot from single barrel, but thank you for the explanation.
Yes! On! Yes, 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 yes! Yes!
It's a blistering hard shot coming down.
Roll and shoot it.
And that's going to make solid contact and going to actually then end up promoting
Holy
a couple
cow.
of other shots. A lot of
a-
intrigue here. Jared, break that shot down for us.
Well, first he got on the hack, then he delivered, and then the shot went down the ice. What Dobbs had called for was a peel there to try to clear off the stones. What had happened is he didn't get quite the angle that he wanted, driving the yellow stone back. But what it did do was split off the yellow stone who had been sitting on the button. From our angle, I'm not certain who's sitting shot. Kevin, I don't know if you have a better idea. But
It looks to me like it's Dobbs, but we can't be sure. Certainly a measurement if needed, but you know, it's still a lot of curling to be played.
yeah, it's close. And the middle's wide open now for the teams to try to hit some stuff.
A technical analysis there from Jared. With 4 shots left to go from each team. Ooh,
That's a great hit right there
very nice.
from single barrel. The difficulty of that hit is there were 2 stones in the back there that they could have run the red stone into one of them, knocking their own stone out and leaving the red one in play. Instead, they managed to hit it between those 2 yellow stones, knocking it out and putting themselves into a much better position.
As we give you a quick look at the overhead cam view of the house as it stands now. But Jared, as we mentioned, as it may look one way, that could all change, and only playing for one here.
On the guard. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, no roll. Yeah, just whoa, whoa, whoa.
And that shot's going to come down. Makes a little bit of contact with the front left blockers there.
You know, I think they can do something with the stone that is left hanging around.
And again, that house is relatively wide open, and 1 point from either team is going to take it here. So a much different approach than you might see in a long-term game.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we're ordinarily Dobbs at least have to consider that single barrel sitting forward at the moment. The outer stones are essentially irrelevant.
It's the first shot for Daphne Roberts here in this last end. Still some discussion between the team here.
And here, time doesn't really matter. You just want to get these shots right.
What do we do? Do we draw?
Yeah, draw.
And as you might have heard, Schultz has called for the draw here. They want to essentially prevent the Dobbs promote from any of the red stones that are now currently guards.
And we'll see if they can do it.
Yellow line. Yellow line. Yellow line.
Down the ice, down the left side, sweeping hard.
Yellow line.
You know, not quite where they wanted, but I think they, you know, they still block up one of the promotes.
Certainly still one benefit there, so not without issue there as we give you again a look at the house as it stands. Just a few stones left to go here.
Dobbs has called for the draw from the other side. They're going to come in from the right and try to draw it. I think there's space forward.
Where is it? Off if you can. Yes, 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 yes.
Again, the
Yes!
skips really getting into it. The final end.
Yes, yes. Wait on me, wait on me.
It's coming in from that right side.
Whoa, 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 whoa. On its own. On its own.
Curling, and that is
What a shot
of
there.
a shot. Heck of a shot.
Great shot by Sell. He's currently sitting shot right now. Managed to sneak by the yellow one on the right
And take a look here at that house and see just how close Sell was able to put that in. And certainly couldn't have hoped for a better shot than that.
And there are still those 2 yellow stones for backing. So Single Barrel has to figure out a way to come down and hit that stone that Sell just threw and knock it through. Almost a field goal between those 2 yellow stones.
And Daphne Roberts' second shot. Only 2 to go after this for both teams.
This one ends up being a little bit wide.
Not what they were hoping for, Jared, and that's going to go straight through the house. Got to be a disappointment.
Yeah, I think the weight was probably about right, about what they're hoping for, but it just goes about a foot to the right of where they needed it to be.
And with only 2 shots to go, it just, cannot be what you're hoping for. It just increases the pressure on these last couple shots.
Oh, absolutely. I think you'll see Dobbs try to figure out a way to guard up their stone that's currently sitting shot.
We'll see which side they choose, and if that is indeed their approach. Dobbs with just his 2 shots left to go here in this 7th and final end.
We should note that the game on sheet A is still going on. They're in their 8th end. It's been a tight one, slow scoring. It's currently 5-4.
With the teams alternating scoring there, again, a very tight matchup. And we'll see what Dobbsy has here. Out of the hack, and here it goes.
I think adding to the difficulty for Dobbs here is that he hasn't had to throw a lot of guards yet this game. And so to have to do so in the last end is just so challenging because he hasn't practiced that weight all game virtually.
And we'll see if he's able to make that. It's coming in. It's going to be a little bit shorter, but it will block up some of that right area, at least in there. But again, Jared, you have to wonder if he's affected by not having to throw those earlier on in the game.
It's just so tough to do that. I think it prevents some stuff on the right there, but there is a significant port. May have taken the draw away. It is certainly going to be more difficult to do.
And with 2 stones here for Paul Schultz, what do you expect to see here?
I mean, obviously you got to get the stone currently sitting shot out of there. You can try for the essentially heavy draws that you've been doing before. You can't do a straight takeout; it's too well guarded for that. Another option would be to figure out a way to set up a stone here and use it on your next shot.
But again, risky with only 2 shots to go, needing that vital point to be able to move on to the Serie B final. And Schultz is making his way back down the ice, and he'll ready his shot. It'll be this one and one more for Schultz. Seeing if he can lead his team to the Serie B finals. A back and forth game that we've had here. The lead has changed multiple times. And here's Schultz. And there's the sweeping. It is curling a little bit here.
He was trying to draw in from that side, but it's going to be a little light, a little narrow.
Can't be what they were looking for. And
nope, not a good combination.
1 shot left for both teams, as we'll give you one more view of the house as it stands now. Again, 1 point to win, sudden death here in the 7th end. Some discussion here for Team Dobbs. Trying to figure out with their last shot what they're going to do, try and hold on to this lead.
And I'm going to try to clog up any sort of draw on the left side is what it looks like he's calling for.
Team Dobbs has not led since the third end.
Looks like he called for a 2 guard, so going to be high, but well past the hog line.
And again, we mentioned having to throw different approaches than he had earlier in the game. We'll see how he's able to deal with that. Michael Dobbs, Team Dobbs. Last shot, end number 7. Tie game. Backing out of the hack. It's coming relatively wide.
Looks like a little deeper than they wanted.
It's going to be close.
But a great shot. It ends up being the line was the most important thing there. They were trying to block up any sort of draw from the left side, and the stone certainly does so.
As we give you another view of the house as it stands, again, the final shot here for Paul Schultz and Single Barrel. Their last chance to try and snag a point here. Shot currently sitting for Team Dobbs. Winner goes on to the Series B final. Loser goes out.
Do they go out or do they go to the Series C final?
They drop from Series B. That is correct, Jared. They do go to the Series C final. There's
relegation,
something for everybody, if you will. But a lot of pressure here. It all comes down to this. And certainly both teams have battled hard. Again, the lead has changed multiple times. We see here Single Barrel discussing their last shot, figuring out what they think they can do here. Just a sliver of hope, but still there. Jared, what kind of approach would you take here with 1 shot to go?
This is definitely where the close my eyes and pray approach I think works best. There's no clear great shot here to do. You know, you can try to knock something back, you can hit some stuff, hope something good happens. There's just not a clear way to get at that red stone. You could try a heavy draw from the right potentially. I know they debated wicking off one of their own yellow stones on the right. It's hard to promote anything. It's possible the yellow guard on the left, you could figure out an angle to get in there, but that's going to be real tough to do. You know, there's always sort of a doomsday option. You throw real hard, hope some stuff moves around.
A lot of options, none of them particularly great. Still some hope, but only some. And certainly, again, congratulate both teams on a game well played that's come down to this wire. Both teams have to be happy with the way things go out, though certainly some disappointment to be felt for the team.
Oh, absolutely, it's been a fantastic game. You hate to see one of these teams have to go out. They both curled really, really well. I think they're going to have to be happy with their performances, but that also means they'll be disappointed when one team loses. It's a shame that one team does. They've curled very evenly so far.
And we'll see what Paul Schultz can come up with here. Last gasp for Team Single Barrel.
And I have to be honest, I'm not sure what the call is here.
Everyone up, a hard shot, and that's not going to do it. It's going to nick one of the guards. And ladies and gentlemen, Team Dobbs will advance. Jared, a few final thoughts as we see the team shaking hands.
That was a great match on both sides. You saw, congratulations to Team Dobbs, but also to Team Single Barrel. Both teams curled really well in this tournament and in this game. I hope they'll represent well tomorrow morning. They have to be proud of themselves, and it was a great final end. Dobbs managed to sneak one in there. Single Barrel had been looking great. Dobbs managed to sneak one in, and Single Barrel just couldn't get rid of it. So well played by both teams.
Certainly an action-packed finish here as we get you the final. 7 ends, Team Dobbs over Team Single Barrel. We hope you'll join us tomorrow for the finals of the event. We'd like to thank everybody watching online, everybody here in the studio, everybody participating in the production. For Jared Weiss, I'm Gavin Weiss. Thank you again for joining us. Team Dobbs over Team Single Barrel. Team Dobbs to the Serie B final. Thank you again for watching, and have a good night.
Night, Mom.